NFL Week 12 best bets. In this video, I go through every single game on the NFL slate. I'll give you my opinion on the side or total, sometimes who I think is going to win the game. And of course, I'll give best bets. Now, normally Austin and I do this video together. You would see him and I face to face on this screen. Now, Austin currently taking care of a newborn. Big congratulations to my best friend on his firstborn, and congratulations to his wife. He's doing dad duty. So the best bets for this NFL week will just be me solo. And before we dive into this week, I'm going to recap last week. I don't have a pop-up graphic or anything. I went 6-8. I tallied my record 6-8. I can do so much better than that. I dropped both of my best bets. So a couple bad calls. I mean, I had the over in that Eagles game, never stood a chance. Just an absolute low-scoring game there. Just got to be better than that. Austin would tell you that as well. Not the best week from the boys, but that's okay. We're gonna dive in this week. Just myself again, solo Logan video until Austin comes back towards the end of the week. Kind of taking care of a newborn. That's taxing, of course. We'll cut him a break. But I love doing these slate breakdown videos, so I'm gonna be doing it myself this week. Without further ado, what do you say we dive right into the picks? Let's start with a game with a big spread here. The graphics do look a little bit different, though, so you're going to have to bear with me because they are meant for two people in the box. So I'm kind of centered, kind of awkwardly, but it's going to be the Giants and Lions, 10.5-point spread for Detroit. And I have a few systems, when I'm picking the NFL. Normally, when the Lions are off a loss, I'll go ahead and back them in this game, and that's exactly where I'm going. I'm going to be on Detroit, and I'm going to lay the 10.5 with the Lions. Look, they look really lethargic on the road. Against the Eagles, they got complacent, bad calls, whatever, etc. They just weren't sharp in that Eagles game. And against a good team like Philadelphia on the road, you have to bring your A game. And they saw what happened when you don't do that, you lose the game. Now this is kind of a get right spot versus a Giants team that I still think is struggling. Even with Jameis Winston at the helm, they looked a little bit more competent on offense. But defensively, that Giants team is just they don't have the guys. They don't have the guys to be able to stop Gibbs, who had a pedestrian game. Amon-Ra St. Brown didn't even have that strong of a game either. A lot of the Lions' big playmakers weren't involved outside of like Jamison Williams. They get those guys back on track this week, and the Lions win in a big way. Even laying the 10.5 points in this one, I'm not really scared. It's a big spread, but it's a big spread for a reason. I'll go ahead and lay the points with Detroit. Let's move on to the next game. It's going to be Jets and Ravens. Now, Austin's New York Jets in this one, laying the Ravens are laying a huge number, 13.5 in this one. Massive spread. It's kind of tough to go anywhere Jets related because that offense is just so bad. Tyrod Taylor will now be the Jets starting quarterback in this one. Does that really move the needle? I say no. I'll go ahead and lay the points with the Ravens. I just think when you see big spreads like this, the Ravens have to take care of business. They have to keep stacking these wins to once again keep pace in the division and put their names solidly in a playoff spot. You cannot play with your food with the Jets. Now, if this was a bad Jets team, maybe at home at the Jets, maybe the Ravens do take them for granted. But I think coming back home, they're refocused. And they win this one by double digits, especially, by laying the 2 touchdowns. It's really tough to see how the Jets are going to be able to move the ball up and down on this Ravens defense that is looking stronger. I like the fact that they're using Mark Andrews in the passing game. Derrick Henry is primed for a big breakout game, a classic like 150, 3 touchdown type Derrick Henry game. And against the Jets defense that is just missing so many pieces from either fire selling the team or just not really playing together as a good unit, I just don't think they are able to keep pace with the Ravens in this one. So I'll take Baltimore. I know to start this video, 2 chalky double-digit spreads. I don't like that, but I don't see anywhere else to go in this one. I'm not touching the total, and I am not sure as hell not taking the Jets with the points. Even you could give me 17.5. I still probably wouldn't take that. That's just where I feel about the Jets. Now let's move on to a next game where, this matchup is a little bit more intriguing. It's going to be Patriots laying 8.5 on the road in Cincinnati. Total 50.5. Monster total in this one. Now where would I go normally in this one? Maybe I would kind of lean towards an over, but I'm going to go ahead and take the Bengals plus the points in this spot. Look, I think the Patriots defense is good, but they're not elite to where I think they just completely shut down this Bengals offense. Now, if you're going to say, yeah, Jamar Chase, yeah, I know. I get it. That's going to be a loss for them. But I still think they have the guys to be able to go up and down the field. And this Patriots team is not the same on the road. We saw what they did in Tampa Bay, kind of having to eke out that win. They didn't really get that formidable of a test on Thursday Night Football against the Jets because, again, they're the Jets. They are what they are. It's a divisional team. They know the Jets fairly well. They don't know the Bengals really well. They don't play the Bengals, as a divisional opponent. So I still think Cincinnati will be able to scheme up an offense that gives the Patriots all they want, because this is a game that I could easily see New England overlooking. And everyone keeps talking about this narrative with the Patriots. Yes, they have an amazing record, but have they really played anybody? The answer is no, and they can only play the teams on their schedule. But if you told me the Bengals kept this within a score, like this is either a 6 or 7 point game or even a field goal, I would say absolutely. I think the Bengals are pesky in this one. Look, if there's anything we know about the Bengals, they break their fans' hearts, but they play gritty, at home in Cincinnati, and I think that's what they do in this spot. So I will get a little bit sharp in the spot, and I'll try to take Cincinnati as the home underdog. I think they're live underdogs in this one. They could bust up some parlays. I would not be shocked on that one. Now let's move to the next one. I'm going to be talking for like 20 minutes straight almost, maybe by the time this is done, but it's going to be Seahawks and Titans. Again, Seahawks laying a massive number on the road. Kind of a crazy spread in this one. If you look at them, minus 900 on the money line. So like no chance in hell the Seahawks lose, right? I'm going to go ahead and take the over between these two teams. Now, if you look at the Titans, offensively, no consistency at all. I still think there's some explosive plays to be had in this Titans offense. No, they don't have any flashy receivers. They are a little bit banged up at the wide receiver position, which is, again, why they are double digits underdogs at home. But the Seahawks defense every now and then has shown some vulnerabilities to give up some big plays. And I think that's what happens here. And then on the other side, I have no doubt in my mind the Seahawks run up the score in this one. They have so many playmakers, Jackson Smith and Jigba. They will have no answers for JSN in that Titan secondary at all. I mean, it's just, he's a tough matchup. He's one of the top. He's got to be in conversation for top 5, bare minimum top 10 wide receivers in the league, and there's just nobody like him. Sam Darnold pats his stats a little bit in a game like this, so I see this one going over. And again, you're getting a favorable total, 40.5. That's not a whole lot has to go right for that one to go over. So each of these two teams could be a little bit pedestrian in the red zone, but this one could still squeak over. And that's exactly what I see happening in this spot. So give me the over. I like that one between the Seahawks and Titans. Now this next one, I will say, is one of my 2 best bets. Last week, over on best bets. Terrible. Absolutely terrible. I have to be better. I have to make up for it. And rather than do them at the end, it's just me recording solo. So why am I going to just like throw up a game and then say, no, you got to wait till the end? We're going to talk about it now. So if you're actually listening to this video, not skipping through, you will get to see my best bets. So this next one is going to be Colts and Chiefs. And I'm going to go ahead and lay the Chiefs minus 3.5 as my first best bet of this weekend slate. Look, I think this is a massive bounce back spot for the Chiefs. Even against a really good Colts team, an elite Colts team, a Colts team that I think shocked so many people this season. Danny Dimes has shown so much improvement as far as when he's not turning the ball over. Now, I say not turning the ball over. This Chiefs team thrives on turnovers. They get really good quarterbacks in bad positions. They put pressure on a lot of good quarterbacks, and Daniel Jones, they're going to speed up his clock. They're going to get Daniel Jones to throw some picks in this one, at least one, maybe 2, maybe some turnovers that way. I just don't think this is a great spot for the Colts. The weather's getting a little bit chillier. That's Arrowhead Stadium, very hard place to play as the year wanes a little bit. I think this is a massive Chiefs bounce back spot. Laying only 3.5. It's a favorable spread at Arrowhead because the Chiefs have not been elite this year. They have a similar record to my Carolina Panthers, which you'd say, wow, that's crazy this far into a year. Hey, I mean, I get it. Chiefs have not lived up to the hype, but this is a great bounce back spot for Andy Reid and the veterans on the squad to say, look, guys, we can go out and we can get a statement win versus the Colts, and that can propel us into the second half of the season. I just think they match up very well against the Colts secondary that I have my questions about. Daniel Jones has looked great, but outside of that, his defense is still, giving up some points this year. They are not as elite as I don't think they're a top 10 defense when the dust settles in this year, especially not going in Arrowhead. Hate the spot for them, and that's why one of my best bets is going to be the Chiefs minus the 3.5. A short spread, but again, a favorable spread, and I'll go ahead and take the Super Bowl runner-up. Now, let's move on to the next one. It's going to be Steelers and Bears. Chicago only laying 3 in this one, 45.5 total. This one is a little bit interesting because you do have injury concerns. Aaron Rodgers, obviously, injured in this one. I'm going to go ahead and take the under, though. I think this Steelers offense is really yet to find any sort of continuity. Week in and week out, I don't really know who they're going to. They've used a good bit of DK Metcalf, Jalen Warren, guys like that. They've got the tight ends involved, but I just don't see them being able to really capitalize on a bad Bears defense. The Bears games are most likely in the mid to high 40s totals just because their defense is liable for some big plays. And we could talk about that Steelers secondary that was really bad to start the year, but they've rounded more into form. I think this Steelers defense is a lot better than people expect in this spot. I think they get after Caleb Williams and the Bears. I see this one going under. I think we just see a mid 40s total because that's kind of where the odds makers have to put it. There are some playmakers on the Bears, but they didn't last week. They didn't really get guys like Odunze involved. DJ Moore still banged up. I don't think he's 100%. I like the under in this one, 45.5. I don't see them sniffing into the 40s. I'll be honest. Again, as the weather gets colder in some of these cities like Chicago, Lambeau, etc., I don't think we should be scared to take unders. So that's what I'm going to go ahead and do in this one. Steelers, not that great of a road team anyway. What sticks in everyone's mind about the Steelers is that stinker they put up on Sunday Night Football when it was on the road. Absolutely not. I still can't trust that team. Let's move on to the next one. Speaking of NFC North, it's going to be an NFC North showdown. Vikings at the Packers. Green Bay laying 6.5. Total 40.5. Again, another low total you see up in the northern games. I'm going to go ahead and take the Packers not the Packers. I'm going to take the Vikings plus the 6.5. Let me be clear. I've faded the Packers to success a lot this year. I've taken all sorts of props and everything Packers related, but I think this is a Viking spot. Now, last week, one of my best bets of the week was Vikings, and they laid an egg at home, predictably almost, to the Chicago Bears, because Chicago Bears just are one of those teams that make you sleepwalk. You don't really expect them to come out and punch you in the mouth, and the Vikings sleepwalked their way to a home loss. You just can't have that. They were so not prepared for that game. Now in Lambeau Field, this is a prime bounce back spot for JJ McCarthy to show that was a little bit of an anomaly. Kevin O'Connell's a great offensive mind. I think he'll be able to scheme some short and intermediate throws for JJ McCarthy, because really where this Vikings team falls short, in my opinion, is when they need JJ McCarthy rolling out to his right and just trying to chuck it downfield. That's not who he needs to be as a young developing quarterback. He needs to be taking short and underneath. He needs to be getting guys like Aaron Jones involved in the passing game. And I think that's what we see here. I think they have a good game plan going into Lambeau Field. And again, Jordan Love, his receiving core is not elite. You could just, it is what it is. I mean, Christian Watson is probably the best receiving option they have outside of Josh Jacobs running the football, who again got injured. I just don't really see where this Packers offense goes. I think the Vikings, a very aggressive defense that leaves their corners on islands. I think that sort of defense works in Lambeau in this spot. So I'll go ahead and take the Vikings plus the points. I know they burned me last week, but the NFL, you gotta have a short memory, because a team that burns you one week can go out and look like Super Bowl contenders the next week. It's weird. It's just how this league works. And I think the Vikings plus the points is definitely a play. It was one of my considerations for best bet, because it was one of my best bets last week, and it screwed me. So again, running back your losses, never a terrible idea in gambling, in my opinion. So just something to consider there in that NFC North showdown. Now let's move on to the next game. We've got the Jaguars and the Cardinals. Jaguars laying 2.5 on the road, minus 150 on the money line, 47.5 point total in this one. Very interesting game. I don't really know what to make of the Jaguars. They are a really tough team to read. Same with the Cardinals. The Cardinals can look one week like they have the offense figured out, and the next week they just sort of lay an egg. Their defense last week got shredded by the 49ers. I thought that was a game that they were going to be able to keep competitive with the 49ers. Alas, they did not. But in this spot, I'm going to go ahead and, again, run back my losses. I'm going to take the Cardinals. I took the Cardinals plus the points last week. maybe look stupid, but I'll take them in this spot because, again, the Jags have no consistency to their team. There's a lot of teams in the NFL that week in and week out do not play. They don't perform, especially on the road. And Trevor Lawrence, man, this guy is the definition of inconsistency. Some weeks he'll look great. He'll be able to not turn the ball over, and then other weeks he makes one read, head down, and gets sacked. It's kind of weird how he this far into his career he's still not developed past that point. You've seen Jags coach slamming the clipboard down with some of the mistakes Trevor Lawrence makes. It's just who he is. This Jags team can also not close consistently on the road. What comes to mind is, again, that Houston loss that wasn't so distant. That Chargers game last week for the Jags, though, was really strange. I mean, where did that version of the Jags come from? That's what I'm saying about this Jags team. They're so hard to read. So why do I expect them to go on the road as road favorites and win in Arizona? I think that would be bucking the trend of what this team is. They are inconsistent. They don't have any continuity on offense. Outside of guys like ETN, I still don't know where the offense is coming consistently. So I'll take the Cardinals plus the points. Sort of a prayer in this spot. I hope Marvin Harrison Jr. Can play eventually. I don't know what his status is for the Cardinals, but I still think they'll be live underdogs in this one, even with Jacoby Brissett. Jacoby Brissett will have a good game against this Jags secondary. They are not world beaters at all. Now let's move on in the next game. This one stinks. Oh my gosh. You got the Browns and the Raiders. Raiders laying 3 at home, minus 175 on the money line, 36.5 point total. Wow. That's extremely low. You really have to check. You're like, okay, we got a mid-30s total. Is there like weather concerns or anything? I mean, they play in Vegas. They play in a dome. Like, what's the issue there with the total? I think it's the books knowing that both of these offenses absolutely stink. You got Shedeur Sanders with the Browns. You've got a Vegas offense that, oh my gosh. Last week, one of my props that made me look silly was trying to take Geno Smith's pass attempts under. I said, well, Vegas, surely they know how to attack the Cowboys. Surely you want to run your ball, involve Ashton Genty. What they do, they came out and threw it. They never heard of running the football. Genty had 2 carries at halftime. That is sick. That is disgusting, and I won't stand for it. Give me the Browns plus the 3. I absolutely will not tolerate anything more with this Vegas Raiders team. I think they are just atrocious. They have no identity. Chip Kelly, it has no idea what he's doing up there, just calling a million pass plays with a terrible offensive line. Yeah, the Browns front defensive front in this one should feast on a Raiders offensive line that just can't block a soul. They cannot block anybody, and maybe that's why Chip Kelly thinks, oh, I can't run the ball because they can't block. Well, you'll never keep the defense honest if you keep dropping Geno Smith back 40-plus times. That's a recipe for disaster. I love the Browns plus the points in this one. Maybe we see some flashes of Colorado swagger Shedeur Sanders. I don't really know. Obviously, he got thrust into action with Dylan Gabriel's injury, but again, he's got some talent, and in this Browns offense, they're not going to ask him to do too much. They faced a pretty daunting Ravens defense last week. Now you got a Vegas team that just gets shredded by anyone and everybody. George Pickens last week, Vegas never heard of him. They let him go do whatever he wanted against them. Guys like Jerry Jeudy could do that this week. I love the Browns plus the points. This game stinks. But the real tragedy in there is that we have to watch the Raiders another week. I despise that team. Disgusting. Get them off my screen. Let's move on to a next game. Speaking of Cowboys, though, this should be a very fun matchup. We've got the Eagles minus 3.5 at Dallas, minus 185 on the money line, 48.5 point total. We obviously remember what happened when these two teams faced in Philadelphia. That was the classic Jalen Carter spitting, getting ejected before the game even started. Kind of a weird game in that one. Dallas was able to run the ball. That's what they were able to do with Javonte Williams. And I think they're going to be sneaky in this one. I like Dallas plus the points in this one. I think they get a little bit of revenge from that early season matchup where they did lose in Philadelphia. Their defense just didn't look quite right in that one. And I would argue that they are coming into a little bit better form. Last week against Vegas, they shored up the secondary a little bit better. They're getting guys healthier week in and week out. They're not the complete mass unit that they used to be. And Dak is looking great. He looks like he's finally hitting his stride with every single part of this offense. And just when you think, oh, it's Pickens, it's CeeDee Lamb down the field, Well, then there's Javonte Williams, 15-yard carry. He is looking explosive out of the backfield. I think this Eagles offense is still very pedestrian. They've yet to really get explosive plays out of Devontae Smith and AJ Brown consistently this year. And on the road in this spot, Dallas will be very hungry. And in a divisional game like this, you got a divisional home underdog. That's typically where I like to bet them. So I like Dallas plus the points in this one. You can disagree with me all you want and say fly Eagles fly. I live in Philadelphia. Look, I heard it. I know when I bet against the Birds that there's some people with pitchforks aimed at my head. I get it. But I still think Dallas is the right side of this one. So I'll be on the Cowboys plus the points. A little bit controversial if you want, but I still think they're the right side in this one. Hopefully they do get the job done there. That figures to be a great game, and I hope it lives up to the hype. Now, speaking of a not so great game, we got the Saints playing this week. Damn it, and they're playing the hapless Falcons. So you got this game virtually a pick 'em. Saints minus 130 on the money line, 39.5-point total. Obviously, the odds makers have no faith that there's really going to be any explosive offense in this one. I agree with that. But I think the Falcons do get a road win. Look, the Saints team, last time we saw them out, they were on the road against Carolina looking good. Tyler Shuck was pounding his chest. The Saints were acting like they've just won their 5th in a row. They haven't. This is still a really, really bad football team. Meanwhile, the Falcons, coming off a divisional sweep at the hands of the Panthers, they're reeling right now. Obviously, Penix is out, so it's the Kirk Cousins show. But I still think this is an Atlanta spot because they have more talent. Now, Drake London banged up. That doesn't help. But I still think they can use guys like Bijan Robinson, Tyler Algier, etc. They will get those guys involved. They will be able to carry the workload against the Saints defense that they have some decent secondary pieces. But up front, I just think that Atlanta will be able to push them around a little bit. And I have no faith whatsoever that Tyler Shuck is able to lead several touchdown drives. I just don't think that's going to happen. I think Atlanta's going to do enough in the red zone to be able to get it done. It's a nasty game. I mean, if you ask me my confidence level of the Falcons, be about a 4 out of 10. But I would be a 0 out of 10 on the Saints because I just don't think that's a good football team. I think they caught a sleeping Carolina Panthers team off their last win. And I just don't think they build off that. Even in the Superdome, it's not a tough place to play anymore. Give me the Falcons. I think they bounce back a little bit after that really disappointing close to the Panthers game. Because, how you going to let Tommy Tremble win the game for Carolina? What? Yeah, kind of crazy play there from that game. That game was nuts. But Falcons do bounce back and get it done. Now this next game, we go to Sunday Night Football. And again, I will reiterate, I'll go full screen for this. This is my second best bet. Last week, reverse sweep on the best bets. Can't have that. Got to be better. Got to be so much better than that. And this week, it's one I really do like. Sunday Night Football with figures again to be a good matchup. Got the Rams. We got the Bucks at the Rams. Rams laying 6.5, minus 300 on the money line. 49.5-point total. I'm going to be on the Bucks team total under. Now, when I'm recording this video, the lines are kind of fluctuating on the screen. I'll pin it in the comment what the final line is for this one. But I think the Rams defense rises up. They stop Baker Mayfield. And again, I've had a lot of questions about the Bucks offense as a whole. Really, where do they go outside of Emeka Ibuka? They mix in some guys, the tight ends like Cade Otton, but it's still not enough. And on the road against a very, very good coached defense like the Rams, I just don't see it being a big Baker spot. We got a total at 49.5. So we're going to get a favorable number for the team total under for the Rams or for the Bucks, not Rams, Bucks. I'm not quite laying the 6.5 with the Rams in this one because the Bucks still are a very good defense. And up front, they should be able to stop guys like Kyron. Now on the back half, are they able to stop Devontae Adams and Puka? Don't really know. I mean, that's the questions there. But I still think this is a defensive battle. Would I lean the full game under as in a vacuum? Maybe 49.5. It takes a lot of red zone touchdowns in that one. And that's why, again, I don't think the Bucks are going to live up to that. I think they're going to have to settle for several field goals in this one. So I do like the Bucks team total under in this one. If Austin was on the screen, I could pull up a better line for it. But again, this is one of my second best bet. I'll pin it in the comment. I'm going to pin it in the comment what the final line is in that one, and I'll probably like tease what the first best bet was. So try to get people to watch through the video, because if you're watching 24 minutes into the video, I appreciate you. And I don't even know how I still have the breath to keep talking. So I'm still yapping, and we have one more game, and I'd argue it's one of the more important games of the whole entire slate. My Carolina Panthers, you see, I'm wearing the polo with pride this week. They're on the road in San Francisco, and they're taking on the Niners. Niners laying 7, minus 355 on the money line, 48.5-point total. Kind of a terrible spot, in my opinion, for the Panthers. Riding high, everyone talking about, can they make a playoff push coming off a divisional sweep of the Falcons. I like the under in this game. Now, Carolina could win it, and I could see them being live underdogs, but the only chance I think they have is if this is a lower scoring game. It cannot turn into a shootout with San Francisco. They're not going to win that. They just don't have the guys. Outside of Ted McMillan, this Panthers offense is still very, very not explosive. They're very pedestrian. They rely a lot on third down conversions, which again, the Niners are getting better at being able to get teams off the field on third down. They've gone through some rough patches where that defense really hasn't quite looked right. Again, injuries play a huge role in that. But this Panthers team, it feels like whenever you watch them offensively, you're just kind of like hoping and praying that on third down, Bryce Young makes the right throw. Because if the Niners take away his first read, he's an easier quarterback to contain. He's not Cam Newton. Newsflash, Bryce Young, not Cam Newton. He doesn't have the running ability or even the stature of these bigger type quarterbacks where they can make plays on the ground. He's just not who he is. He gets a lot of passes swatted down, and that's again not his fault. He's small, but if it's going to rely a lot on him to make the right reads in this game, and I just think in this big Monday Night Football spot, I just don't see this game being a shootout at all. I think the Panthers defense, again, one of the better units in football. Now they didn't look great against Atlanta last week, but Atlanta had some good game plan for him. I think all credit goes to Bijan Robinson. He was absolutely explosive on the ground. Outside of Christian McCaffrey, do I really think the Niners have that many playmakers? Maybe they get guys like Juwan Jennings involved, and Kendrick Bourne. Maybe that's where the offense comes, but I'll go ahead and bet on the Panthers defense to once again show up in this one. So I do like the under. It's just a little bit too high. I think that's a little bit of bait maybe on the under because of a high total with a Panthers game, but I'll go ahead and take the bait. I do love that as to close out this slate and me talking for almost a half hour straight. Thank you guys so much for bearing with me. And again, Austin will be back next week and we can do the slate videos per normal. But again, thank you for watching. Hopefully we have a great winning week. Hopefully we can cash both my best bets, because damn it, I was terrible last week. That's 100% on me. I will be better this week, and hopefully we can make some money. Definitely stay in and watch the daily NBA videos and the daily NFL videos. I'll have a video for Thursday Night Football coming out. And again, I'm still doing NBA until Austin returns, whenever he decides to come back from fatherhood duties. This has been Logan, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace out.